Ayo, Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, the rule well. And Shalom to all the brothers doing the work and sincerity and truth. Got this article on Bloomberg. It says what? Meat is the latest cyber victim as hackers hit top supplier JBS. Says what? The world's biggest meat supplier was a target of a cybersecurity attack Sunday in the latest threat to global food supply chains that have been rattled by the pandemic. JBS SA shut its North American and Australian computer networks after an organized assault on servers. The company said by email Monday, without commenting on operations at its plants. JBS said the incident may delay certain transactions with customers and suppliers. The attack sidelined 2 shifts and halted processing on one of Canada's largest meatpacking plants. So it's real funny because it kind of just appeared from nowhere, really, where it's now just like, oh, food. There was already things floating in the midst as far as for food and how ways it could lead to a shortage. And now, you've got hacks similar to like with the fuel, where they had the fuel line they hacked, and then man had to pay the fine. So now people are gonna be like, it's open season, because people are gonna be hacking every blood clot. Like, oh well, if it's serious enough, these men are going to drop the cash. And then man were doing it from what they said, like Russia-based, Eastern Europe kind of area. So them man ain't really gonna give a fuck about, like, if they're within that sphere of influence. Russia ain't gonna be extraditing them for shit. So yeah, it's funny as hell that you've got this complete switch up coming to where it's a whole new factor, a whole new area where shit can go sideways. So this is what so it said one of the meatpacking plants. While the Australian Financial Review earlier reported that cow and sheep slaughtering had been suspended at JBS's operations in Australia, citing country manager Brent Eastwood, there were no immediate reports of plant disruption in the US. Hackers have the commodities complex in their crosshairs, with the JBS attack coming just 3 weeks after the operator of the biggest US gasoline pipeline was targeted. It comes as the meat industry battles lingering C-19 absenteeism after recovering from mass outbreaks last year that saw plants shut and supplies disrupted. JBS's incident affected a Canadian beef plant in Brooks, Alberta, about 190 kilometers east of Calgary on Monday. So yeah, it's everyone now is obviously feeling, the crunch and the squeeze of the crunch and squeeze of what do you call it? The crunch and squeeze of, how the lockdowns have impacted. And like, even for me, I don't know how it's going for what do you call it? I don't know. It's going for like between the border of the Canada and the US, and like how much food goes over. But I know like I think the border between them is still closed, so I'm not sure about how it affects goods. But it's like, there's a few areas in which these things are gonna have an impact, and it could be an impact down the line as well. Where, because I think the funniest part about the hacks happening is it's setting a precedent for people, groups just targeting like main infrastructural systems, and then that, because it's on such a scale where it's like if this stops, hey, shit gets real fucked, like real quickly. Then man gonna be paying money out, and then that's gonna incentivize more. Just like with they mentioned colonial gasoline, them guys, man. So it's funny as hell. It's real funny because it shows it's as like going into 2020 got wild, going into this year, it's persisted and stacked up. It's wildness. It's kind of like now you can just have huge ass like systems getting fucking hacked and like destroyed. And I'm guessing a lot of these, they're probably not even what they're running isn't even like they've not got particularly advanced systems. So them man are easy to take advantage of. It's real. It's actually amusing as hell. So yeah. So we'll see, because it's like if these men pay, if they don't. The thing is like with like colonial, they paid because it was like after a few days. Then it was after a few days, it was like shit would have been on top, because it was shorted, like it was like 3-4 days I think they were down, and it was like because people went and started mass buying as well, ended up with shortages, not even just along the line where they were, but in and around, and that would have only run for a certain amount of time, and then they would have had to start doing contingencies and emergencies, and people would have started getting rabid, and the prices have gone up as well anyway. Prices have been creeping up for gas anyway. So it's like same with food. A lot of foods. There's a lot of food prices were going up. Like it was corn. It wasn't things direct, like not yet anyway. Directly like meat, but it was like feed for animals and certain products that you use for animals that were being like the prices of them were going up. So it was like the knock on effect was going to be felt further down the line. So it's exciting times. As a Tank said in Matrix, man. Exciting times. It's exciting times because we're seeing everything's getting on top from every angle, from every you know different manner and method. It's getting messy out here, and food is one of those things that people are like, hey, food you can't really mess with. People get very personal about that shit, and they ain't gonna when you get hungry, reason goes out the window. That's and expect to see it, man. It's especially with Americans and their meat. Oh man, but yeah, we'll see. So second Ezra is 15, and let me start from verse 5. I'll skip down. So it says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." Yeah, and famine is one of them key words in there. And famine is something that has been used throughout the scriptures, man. That hunger, that starvation, that's when, hey, you can, that's a raw judgment, man. That's when little Tay Tay starts getting chopped up and put in the pot. It's peak. But for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So yeah, it's basically the Lord opening up on that judgment. That's the time we're in. We're in the end of the end. When the what's the word? The that final, final last little bit at the end of this thing, man. And it says what? So skip down to verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." Oh, and just wait, hold on, no. Oh, okay, yeah, no. So verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Yeah. So that's what's you're gonna have in these end times. You're gonna have it scaled up. That reaction, that stress. People hitting that stress point where they start getting wild. Um, and one of those things that's gonna cause that is what? The lack of bread, man, and great tribulation. That time of trouble, that time when shit's gonna get messy. This is how it's gonna be jacking people up. So yeah. Hey, like I said, exciting times. It's these hacks. It's funny. We'll see. We'll see if they pay. We'll see if they don't pay, and like what goes down. If there's shortages, to what extent? All these different things, man. Funny as hell. Cause yeah, food is that's people get messy, man. People get on top. The prices start going up. Oof. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yabashim, Yabashim, Kakatash,